people need to understand like the whole concept of the stick mobility
well, just tension.
Yeah,
I think people need to understand tension.
absolutely.
Because back in the day, there were lots of this is way back in the day, there were lots of exercise programs that incorporated tension
Charles
moves.
Atlas and all these
Yes,
old names.
dynamic tension, isometric strength. This is like sorely lacking.
Right.
And the reason why it's lacking is because studies would compare isometric training to traditional resistance training.
Yeah,
and of course, traditional resistance training kicks its butt all day long.
Yes.
However, that does not negate the benefit of utilizing isometric type training. Massive benefit.
Yeah.
And I never incorporated it myself until Justin started teaching me some of the stuff.
Well, like anything else, it's like we talk about on the podcast, is that it's another modality, it's another way of training, and it's something that should be included and phased in and out or incorporated with any of your training you're currently doing. Where, like you said, I think the problem with it was people started comparing it with.
Yeah.
No, it
everybody
doesn't
wants to know
They put it in a category of its own and wanted that to be the answer, and that's the only way to get strong and have good results. But in reality, it's another tool that you can use to really maximize all forms of training, and also it carries over a lot into weightlifting.
Bro, when I started incorporating tension-based movements with isometric training properly, like the way Justin's about to demonstrate right now, I noticed in my lifts, I have never felt so solid in my entire life. Like I can hold a barbell in a top position or mid position, and I just feel super tight. Like I feel like I'm a statue, like I'm made out of stone.
Now,
and that comes from this kind of training.
When you do like your tension moves and stuff, how do you typically incorporate it into your training? Is it something that you do as a primer before you start, or is it post workout?
It could be a primer, could be post. Typically, I'll do it as a primer.
Yeah, that's how I've been doing it.
I'm really trying to heighten my central nervous system response. So that way I can carry that into, major compound lifts where like you're in these grinding type exercises. You really need that central nervous system to give you that benefit, that activity. So
show us a real good basic one that someone can start with.
Okay, two very basic ones to start. And this is a little bit more core driven, but obviously you're gonna feel this all over your body. And that's the point of a lot of these tension exercises, is to really connect upper body, lower body, core, everything simultaneously, enhance that signal, really get a nice loud response. So the first thing I can do is just drive her right into the ground. And you've noticed this if you've ever done any sort of digging work or with like a pickaxe or something that's really grueling, where the ground might be hard and you're feeling this resistance. Same thing, I'm gonna just be able to get that same response throughout my entire body by now connecting my upper body here and then squeezing my lower body, my core,
there too.
pressing it into the ground.
So while you're doing this, you don't have to keep holding it.
This is all coming from here, right? I mean, this is where you feel this internally first.
Here's the thing, this is why they're hard to demonstrate, because you're watching this on camera right now, and what's hard to see is his intent, because he's not moving, right?
Exactly.
He's doing the movement, but you don't see him moving. First, let's talk about your stance. You've got it looks like a shoulder width stance.
Shoulder width stance, my knees are slightly flexed, so I get a nice kind of a soft knee. That way too, I wanna make sure that it's a muscular response. So I'm not locked out here. I wanna make sure I'm engaging my glutes, I'm engaging my quads, I'm engaging my core.
Okay.
And then the upper body too. So I'm not trying to bunch up here. I'm trying to still maintain a nice upright posture by retracting the shoulders, depressing the shoulder blades, keeping my chin back in a neutral position. And then now once I'm focused on that position, a little bit of a flex in the elbow. So everything, I'm still kind of loose, but now when I want to be, I'm rock solid hard.
So here's what I pick up from this movement, because this is actually one of my favorite ones. It's super easy, super basic. The primary function of this movement is to drive the stick down, but that's not all of it, right? I'm not just pushing this down, because if I was just pushing it down,
because you're gonna lean into it,
I would lose lots of tension, right?
Right.
The other thing that helps me with this particular movement is squeezing the bar.
Yes.
And then tightening and tensing everything. I want to imagine. You ever watch those old kung fu demonstration videos where the dude is he's sitting like this, and then there's like a guy that breaks a stick over his elbows. That's what it reminds me of. Like I just want to be tight and tense.
Rigid.
Rigid. Like if somebody was gonna come from the side and hit me, I wouldn't feel it. That's what I imagine in my head. That's my intention. So I'm driving down, but I'm also tight throughout the whole body.
Well, and that's why I was pointing out that I feel like thinking from the core first. That's where, even though you're going to feel tension in your arms, everything's locking out, it needs to come intrinsically first, inside.
You're centralizing that force.
Yeah, it's got to come from there first. Otherwise, what I find when I show any sort of tension movement, people, and you mentioned like, okay, I'm trying to drive this into the ground. So they're leveraging their body to drive it in the ground when that's not the idea.
You're hinging your hips back. No, we're trying to squeeze everything in. I'm squeezing my glutes, I'm squeezing my abs. Everything's directing down.
Yes.
But that's all coming from my from a muscular place.
Yes. So. Now, how would someone apply this? We talked about using this as a primer before exercise, but you do this for time and you do sets for it.
Yeah,
sets,
so
right?
6 to 10 reps, and this is from studies over in the USSR and Russia back in the day when they used to test their athletes.
By the way, the Soviet Union utilized this, and the Soviet Union, for those of you that don't know your history, dominated in strength sports for a long time.
Got our asses kicked in the Olympics for a very long time.
And this was one of their things.
Athletics.
Yes, and we actually learned a lot when the Soviet Union broke apart. A lot of their coaches came here, and now you're starting to see our athletes start to incorporate some of the advanced athletes, at least. It's starting to trickle down to everybody else. So you're saying 6 to 10 reps, but what is a rep?
No, 6 to 10 seconds per rep.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could actually structure it just like you would any other workout where we're doing it. Our focus is on, let's say hypertrophy, let's say it's strength, it's central nervous system activation, like I'm trying to put max effort into it, something like that. So you could actually structure it to fall along the same type of a phasal approach like we have in our maps or something like that. But,
Got it.
if that's as far as sets and reps are concerned. However, what I like to use it for pretty much on a daily is for priming my body. So, and I'll do that just, I can just do a few reps of that and really get that max effort and then relax and get to a point where I'm not into super fatigue. I haven't fatigued, because you'll know when you fatigue your central nervous system.
Oh, yeah.
You just feel like you're done. You're cashed in. So you don't want to get to that point.
So what do you do, like 3 sets of these 6 to 10 second holds, and you want to put lots of effort, strong intention, lots of tension.
Strong intention.
Resting in between those reps, what do they look like?
Exactly, 30 seconds.
30 seconds
yeah,
or so?
Or so, yeah.
So do like 3 of these, you're done, now move on to your exercise.
Exactly.
Excellent. And this is one of the most basic right
This
here.
is a very, very starter move that I would even show anybody. So
Love it.
And would you use this
exposes everything?
And because it is kind of a full body, because when you're bending the knees, you're up top, you're locking, it's coming from the core, everything's getting engaged. This would be an overall primer. So would you use this like for overall whatever workout you're doing, or is it specific something you're targeting here?
Yeah,
or you
I
use this instead?
typically deadlifts or any of your compound movements where I'm really like I said, grinding my way through these movements, and I'm really needing that total body central nervous system response.
In other words, it would be kind of silly to do this and then you go over and do a bunch of hammer strength machines and machine exercises. Stuff
Well,
like that.
there is something to be said about turning on the CNS before your workout. However, you can overdo this. We got to make sure we're clear with that. You can fatigue the hell out of yourself to the point. You
can.
Right, so doing those sets, resting, and then leaving it, and then working out.
Absolutely.
You don't want this to be your like you don't want to be hammered after doing this. You want to feel like you woke things up. So
another great, this is if you have an overhang, like some kind of a ceiling that you can do. We can do that same exact exercise, and a lot of times I like to then press it up into the wall. So now we get a different sort of a feel and response and recruitment pattern.
Excellent.
But
well, I think
those 2 moves to start.
I think we should make more videos showing some more of these tension movements. What do you think?
Sure.
Excellent. All right, tune in. We got more coming.